Jae-min and Vera landed in Paris to a peaceful morning. Their designated driver picked them up and dropped them off at a luxury hotel. Vera gazed out of the car window in awe, stunned by the beautiful streets, the soft colors of early dawn, and the towering architecture. Jae-min checked them in, and a bellboy brought up their luggage. Vera followed him silently through the hotel, wondering what kind of guest room she'd be staying in. But when Jae-min opened the door, it wasn't a guest room. It was a luxury suite. One bedroom, one shared space. Vera's eyes widened. Jae-min set down his suitcase and unpacked a few of his clothes. "You can use half of the closet," he said casually. She didn't respond. She was too stunned to speak. He turned to face her, noticing the bright gleam in her eyes and the way her mouth slightly parted, as if trying to ask something. Her cheeks were flushed. The girl was clearly overwhelmed. He took a few steps toward her and tilted his head. "You're quiet." "I'm just grateful, sir," she managed to say, hands fiddling nervously. "No, I don't think that's it." His voice lowered, teasing. "Why don't you tell me what's gotten you so excited?" Vera stared at Jae-min with flushed cheeks as she realized she had given her emotions away and had no answer to his question. Jae-min waited for her reply, but she looked down and refused to make eye contact with him. When he realized she was feeling embarrassed, he shook his head and went back to unpacking his bag. Sometimes Vera surprised him with her actions. She smiled when it wasn't necessary and felt excited for reasons best known to her. There were also times her emotions changed so quickly. Within the twinkling of an eye, she moved from happiness to sadness. He would never understand what went on in her mind. Perhaps because she was young and had been through so much, it was difficult for her to express her feelings accurately. He left her alone in the bedroom and went to the living room, where he sat on the couch and began to work on his laptop. After a while, he returned to the bedroom and noticed that she had fallen asleep. He quietly took a document from his bag and went back to the living room. After a few hours, he checked the time and realized they would soon have to go out. He decided to take a bath and get ready. When he returned to the bedroom, Vera was not in sight. He was just about to check the balcony when the bathroom door opened and she came out. Vera stared at Jae-min in shock, a short towel tied around her chest. She hadn't expected to see him inside the room. Jae-min's eyes involuntarily lingered on her thighs, smooth and glowing. Seeing her like this awoke something in him he hadn't felt in a long time. He thought back to that day at the black market when he first saw her, raw, helpless, but undeniably beautiful. Now, she was standing in front of him looking even more alluring. He was a man with self-control, but even he had limits. His breath hitched, and he quickly looked away, knowing he was on the verge of crossing a dangerous line. Vera didn't know what to do. She considered running back into the bathroom, but was scared he might need it. She couldn't move forward either, because he was standing right there. What surprised her the most was his look. He didn't look angry or distant, he looked different. And she didn't know what it meant. Jae-min realized he was going to lose control if he stayed. Without saying anything at first, he turned and walked away. At the door, he said, "I'll just wait outside until you're done." Vera stood still for a moment, confused. Why didn't he just use the bathroom? She quickly dried her body and dressed, not wanting to keep him waiting. Outside, Jae-min stood taking deep breaths. This wasn't good. They were supposed to be in Paris for a month, and if he was already reacting this way, he was bound to make a mistake he would regret. Vera trusted him, and worse, he was going to send her away after their agreement. If he gave in now, it would feel like taking advantage of her. When Vera stepped out of the room, she saw him standing outside and said gently, "I'm done with the bathroom, sir. I'm sorry about earlier. I didn't know you were in the room." Jae-min turned slightly and gave a soft smile. "It's fine. I'll just book another room so I don't inconvenience you anymore." Vera blinked in surprise. Have I upset you in any way, sir? Jae-min smiled again and shook his head. No, Vera. You haven't. I just want to give you your privacy. Also, I'm hosting an inauguration party later this evening, and I'd like you to come with me. I'll be heading out in an hour to shop. I want you to pick out something new to wear. Vera nodded, watching as he walked away. She wasn't happy about him moving out, but she told herself that at least he was still close. She wondered why he wanted her to pick new clothes when the ones she had were already elegant and perfect. Was this party like the one back in Seoul? Would they be acting affectionate in public again? She found herself looking forward to it. She lived for those moments, even if it was just acting. After booking the room next door, Jae-min returned to pack his things. Vera stood to the side and watched him in silence. As he left the suite with his final bag, he noticed someone suspiciously familiar near the hallway. But before he could get a proper look, she quickly slipped into a room and shut the door. He paused for a moment. Could it have been Nana? No. He was probably imagining things. They had been here together once before. It was easy for his mind to see her in strangers. Inside the room, Nana leaned against the door, clutching her chest and breathing heavily. That was so close, she whispered. She couldn't believe Jae-min had almost seen her. She'd booked a room nearby to monitor his movements. When she realized that he and Vera weren't even staying in the same suite, her heart leapt. This was her chance. It was obvious, Jae-min didn't love Vera. Nana was certain of it, and she was going to use that to her full advantage. Her goal was clear: get rid of Vera and return to Jae-min's side as the rightful Mrs. Kim. After getting ready, Vera sat in the living room, eating from a bowl of fruit as she waited for Jae-min. When he knocked on her door, she quickly set the fruit aside and went out to meet him. She smiled warmly at him, and he returned her smile before leading her out of the hotel. Jae-min drove them to a luxurious shopping mall in Paris. Just as they were about to enter, his phone rang. He checked the caller ID and frowned slightly. Go in and start picking out the clothes you like, he told Vera. I'll join you once I'm done with this call. Vera nodded and walked into the mall. It was grander than she had imagined, and the people inside were dressed to the nines. She looked down at her simple dress and sandals, suddenly feeling self-conscious. It was obvious this place catered to the elite, and she couldn't help but feel out of place. As she began to walk towards the clothing section, her gaze stayed on the floor, and she didn't notice the woman approaching until she bumped into her. Vera stumbled back and fell on her butt. Looking up, she saw a tall, glamorous woman towering above her, glaring down in disgust. I'm so sorry, Vera said quickly as she got up. I wasn't looking at. Shut the hell up, you hillbilly, the woman snapped. How dare you touch me? What are you doing here? Did you come to steal? People in the store began turning to look at them. Vera stood frozen, ashamed and flustered. The woman grabbed her arm tightly. You look like a church rat. Are you here to beg for scraps? Who let you into a place like this? I'm not a thief or a beggar, Vera whispered, tears forming in her eyes. The store manager rushed out. The woman turned to him and said loudly, Do you let beggars and thieves walk freely in here? If she's still here in 5 minutes, I'll never shop here again. The manager barely looked at Vera before turning to his staff. Get her out of here. A salesgirl grabbed Vera by the hair and shoved her roughly, making her crash to the floor. Vera yelped in pain and stayed down, covering her face in humiliation. Then, suddenly strong, familiar arms lifted her up. She looked up and saw Jae-min, his jaw tight with fury, eyes dark with unfiltered rage. At first, Vera thought he might be angry at her. Maybe he believed the accusations. But he turned, voice cold and powerful, and roared at the manager. How dare you? The manager instantly recognized Jae-min. He was not just a VIP customer. He was best friends with the owner and a known billionaire. Jae-min's face was stone. You think this is how you treat your customers? The manager stuttered. Sir, she was. Jae-min cut him off with a sharp raise of his hand. Then he pulled out his phone and called the owner directly. Francois, I'm at your mall and completely disgusted. Your staff just assaulted my wife. I want you to know I'll never step foot in this hellhole again. Within minutes, Francois, the owner himself, came rushing out. Jae-min, I'm so sorry. What happened? Jae-min didn't hesitate. I brought my wife here to shop. Your manager let some loudmouth insult and manhandle her, and your staff joined in. They called her a thief and shoved her to the ground. Is that how you treat people now? Francois's face turned pale. The manager and salesgirl stepped back. I'm so sorry, Francois stammered. Which of you idiots did this? The manager tried to explain. Sir, the lady said she was. Jae-min stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. Everyone in the mall gasped. Pointing at the glamorous woman, Jae-min asked coldly, That one? The bargain bin queen who only shows up when you have clearance sales? You let her humiliate my wife? Do you even know who Vera is? He turned back to Francois. I want her banned. And your staff fired. Francois nodded immediately. You too, he pointed at the manager and the salesgirl. You're both fired. And you, he turned to the woman, are permanently banned from this mall. The woman scoffed and rolled her eyes, but Francois called security, and she stormed out of the mall with her head held high. Outside, she pulled out her phone and angrily dialed a number. Nana, she snapped. I've never been more humiliated in my life. Why didn't you keep Jae-min busy like you promised? He walked in and called her his wife. I just got banned because of your lies. I am so sorry, Beverly, Nana said over the phone. The man I hired to distract Jae-min said he hung up on him abruptly. I know the plan was for you to humiliate that cheap Vera and be gone before Jae-min arrived, but it didn't work out that way. She paused, then continued coldly, but don't worry. I've got something else planned tonight. When I'm done, they'll both be so humiliated Jae-min won't even want to look at Vera, let alone keep her around. They're already in separate rooms. It's proof my strategy is working. Just be patient. Jae-min will be mine again. Beverly sighed bitterly and climbed into her car, driving off. Back inside the mall, the manager and salesgirl stood nervously, trying to apologize. The other staff member who had judged Vera earlier backed away quietly, relieved she hadn't laid a hand on her. Jae-min folded his arms. Don't apologize to me, he said icily. Apologize to my wife. The manager and salesgirl turned to Vera, who still had tears in her eyes. Please forgive us, madam. We were wrong. Vera opened her mouth to reply, but Jae-min spoke up first. No. Apology not accepted. He turned to Francois, the mall owner, and said bluntly, As long as they're still working here, I won't buy a single thing from this place. Francois didn't hesitate. He grabbed both employees by their arms and dragged them to the door. You're fired, he snapped. And next time, if either of you ever gets the chance to run your own mall, you can judge customers at first glance. Jae-min turned Vera gently to face him. He wiped her tears and said, Let's get you a few things. Vera was still shaken. Part of her thought there must be a hidden camera somewhere. That Jae-min was only being sweet because of some publicity stunt. But as she looked around, she didn't see any photographers, any flashing lights, nothing. Maybe he was just being kind. Jae-min walked beside her, helping her pick out dresses, gowns, and accessories while shoppers around them stared in awe and envy. He chose a few clothes for himself, but only Vera went in and out of the dressing room, trying on outfits. Jae-min sat comfortably, talking occasionally on the phone, but each time Vera stepped out, he signaled with a nod, a raised eyebrow, or a gentle smile to indicate which outfits looked best on her. His gestures were quiet, but his approval felt thunderous to Vera's heart. After trying on what felt like hundreds of outfits, Vera was exhausted. Jae-min bought everything without hesitation, well over 100 designer pieces. He told her to keep aside the dress she wanted to wear to the evening party and arranged for the rest to be delivered to their hotel. As they walked to the car, Vera still searched for any sign that his actions were part of some plan. But there were no paparazzi, no assistants, just Jae-min and her. He opened the car door for her, and as she sat down, she felt overwhelmed. Her knees still hurt, but her heart was glowing. Jae-min got in and looked over to see her misty-eyed. "Are you in pain?" he asked softly. Vera shook her head. "No, sir." "Then why are you crying?" She hesitated, then said in a quiet voice, "Because no one has ever stood up for me the way you did today. You didn't just protect me, sir. You gave me dignity. I'll never forget that, even after I leave your side." Jae-min was quiet for a moment, surprised by the emotion in her voice. Then he said, "To be honest, Vera, I'm not happy with you right now." Her eyes widened. "You shouldn't have let them push you around like that. In the public eye, you're my wife and you represent me. If someone slaps you, slap them back. If you fall, get up and push back harder. Don't you ever cower again." Vera's breath caught in her throat. "I understand, sir. I won't let it happen again." Jae-min nodded. "Good. As long as I'm here, no one will harm you. I'll always take your side." "Thank you," Vera whispered. "Good girl," he said with a small smile, then started the car. All the way back to the hotel, Vera kept stealing glances at him, her heart pounding. She wanted to make him proud. She promised herself that if anything like this ever happened again, she would fight back. When they got to the hotel, Jae-min helped her carry the dress she had chosen for the evening. Just before she went into her room, she turned and said, "Thank you, sir, for the clothes." "You're welcome," he replied. "The party starts in 2 hours. Get ready, and I'll come get you. I know you took 2 dresses from the batch. Wear the red one. It suits you more." Vera smiled and nodded. "Okay, sir." She entered her room, gently holding the red gown against her chest, feeling like she was holding a piece of magic. As she got ready for the party, Vera's thoughts drifted back to what had happened earlier at the mall. She still couldn't understand why that woman had looked at her with such disdain and called her a thief or a beggar. Yes, she had been simply dressed, but her outfit was not cheap. Jae-min had bought it for her the very first week he brought her into his house. So why? Why was she treated like filth? Even though the incident had shaken her, the memory of Jae-min defending her so fiercely warmed her heart. That moment alone made it all worth it. Vera checked her appearance in the mirror and was satisfied. Jae-min was right. The red gown looked much better on her than the blue one. She applied red lipstick to match and slipped on a pair of low heels. It was already dark, and she preferred to stay simple. She had just finished waiting when she heard a knock. She opened the door and her breath caught. Jae-min stood there, looking devastatingly handsome in a black suit that shimmered faintly under the lights. He looked like someone out of a fairy tale. "I have a gift for you," he said with a smile, handing her a sleek plastic bag. "Thank you," Vera replied, her voice filled with curiosity. "Just give me 1 minute, I'll drop it off inside." Once inside her room, she opened the box and squealed in delight. It was a brand new phone. Outside the door, Jae-min chuckled softly to himself when he heard her excitement. She had wanted a phone so badly, to store pictures and videos of the two of them. Now that she had won, she felt like she'd been handed the moon. She wanted to run out and hug him but held back, afraid she might make him uncomfortable. When she came back out, Jae-min said, "My number's already saved on it. Call me if you need anything. The phone's been customized for you, data, everything. I've also sent you the hotel's Wi-Fi code, so you won't get bored." "Thank you so much, sir," Vera beamed. "You're too kind." As they walked toward the venue, Nana stood at the corner of the corridor, watching them with narrowed eyes. "Tonight," she muttered under her breath. I'll see to it that Vera disgraces you in front of everyone, Jae-min. At the party, Vera quickly realized she was bored. She barely spent a minute beside Jae-min. He was constantly greeting people and speaking to groups of businessmen. She regretted not bringing her new phone along. She had wanted to be respectful, not distracted, but now she wished she had something to occupy her. There were mostly men at the party, and very few women. The handful of women in her age range were all either busy chatting or networking. Jae-min soon went up to the stage to give his speech. Vera sat quietly in the crowd, her eyes fixed on him with admiration. He looked perfect. Even from a distance, she could see the confidence in his posture, the brilliance in his voice. She hadn't had anything to eat or drink and was beginning to feel lightheaded from hunger and nerves. Just then, a waiter approached her with a tray of drinks. "Madam," he said, "please take a drink." "I don't take alcohol," Vera said politely. "This one is a non-alcoholic fruit cocktail," he smiled. Besides, the boss might be upset if his wife wasn't served. Vera hesitated, then accepted the glass and took a sip. It was sweet and cold, exactly what she needed. She ended up asking for another glass, and the waiter obliged. Meanwhile, Jae-min was finishing his speech, receiving loud applause from the guests. Vera clapped louder than anyone, prompting a few people to give her strange looks. Elsewhere in the building, the waiter walked quickly out the service door and made a call. "It is done," he said. "Good job," Nana replied. "Leave the hotel now. Your balance will be transferred shortly." Back at the venue, Vera spotted Jae-min and began walking toward him. But something felt strange. Her body felt heavier, her thoughts cloudier. She stumbled slightly. People started to stare. Jae-min, with his back to her, didn't notice anything yet. Vera reached the stage and grabbed the mic. "Hi, everyone," she said, grinning. Her voice was slightly slurred. "This is Vera." Heads turned. Murmurs rippled through the room. Jae-min spun around and froze in shock. "This is a wonderful party," Vera said dreamily. "And my husband is amazing. Do you all want to know something? He bought me." "Yep, you heard right." There were audible gasps. Jae-min rushed toward her and yanked the microphone from her hand. She giggled and reached for it again, but he held it high and pulled her away from the stage. Everyone stared at them. Most of the guests didn't even know who she was. Jae-min hadn't formally introduced her. The whispers grew louder. Jae-min dragged Vera out of the hall, red-faced with embarrassment. His fury boiled as he hauled her to her room. He opened the door, dragged her inside, and pushed her toward the bed. She stumbled, face planting on the sheets, smearing her lipstick across the white fabric. She turned over slowly, hair a mess, eyes unfocused, and stared at him with a lazy smile. "I warned you not to drink in public, Vera," he growled. "How could you humiliate me like that? I'm very disappointed in you." Vera burst into laughter, clearly too tipsy to understand. Jae-min turned to storm off, but froze when he felt her arms wrap around him from behind. She pressed her cheek to his back. "Please don't be mad at me," she whispered. "I don't like it when you're mad." "Let go," he ordered, prying at her arms. "Vera, let go of me." "No, sir," she said softly. "I'm gonna hold you like this forever." Jae-min stood still for a while, letting Vera hold on to him as tightly as she could. Slowly, his anger began to fade. He sighed and glanced down at her. Her arms were still wrapped around him, her eyes closed. He knew she wasn't in her right frame of mind, but he still said calmly, "I'm angry because you drank alcohol even when I warned you not to. I told you to act like my wife in public, not embarrass me." Vera opened her eyes and looked up at him, shaking her head. "But I didn't take alcohol. I swear. I told the waiter to bring juice and he said that's what he gave me. It tasted sweet just like juice. I only drank 2 glasses because it tasted really nice. I didn't mean to mess things up. I'm so sorry." Jae-min stared at her for a moment. Her big eyes were filled with innocence, her face flushed, and her lips curved into a little pout. Despite his frustration, he couldn't deny that she looked adorable, like a small, helpless child. He sighed again, realizing he needed to return to the party. "Okay, Vera. Let go of me now. I have to get back to the event." "No," she whimpered. "I won't let go of you. You're angry. You say you're not, but I can tell. Please don't be angry, please." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she hugged him even tighter, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to embarrass you. I didn't want to ruin anything. Stop crying, Vera. I said I'm not angry anymore," he said with more softness than before. "It's a lie," she mumbled against his shirt. "You're still mad at me." He groaned in frustration but also with pity, then gave in. "All right, come." He led her to the bed and sat beside her. Her arms remained latched around him as though her life depended on it. He gently stroked her hair and rubbed her back until she finally fell asleep in his arms. Once he was sure she was out cold, Jae-min carefully laid her on the bed and stood up, brushing her hair away from her face before quietly leaving the room. Out in the corridor, Jae-min's mind returned to what she had said earlier, that she hadn't taken alcohol. He needed answers. He made his way straight to the control room and asked for access to the CCTV footage. Watching the screens, he noticed something strange. The guy who had served Vera wasn't among the waiters he had approved earlier. There were 6 servers, hand-picked, and none of them matched the man in the footage. Jae-min's brows furrowed as he leaned closer. The guy also vanished immediately after serving Vera. That confirmed it. Vera was telling the truth. This wasn't just an accident. Someone had set her up. But who? Vera didn't know anyone in Paris. Based on everything she'd told him about her past, there didn't seem to be anyone who would do this to her. Unless she had kept something from him? He captured a still of the fake waiter's face and handed it over to one of his managers. "Find out who this guy is. If you need to get the police involved, do it. I want answers." By the time the party wound down, Jae-min returned to Vera's suite and peeked inside. She was still sleeping soundly. He quietly locked her door and then went to his own room. When Vera woke up the next morning, everything from the night before came rushing back. Her cheeks burned in shame. She couldn't believe what she had done, getting drunk, climbing the stage, and holding Jae-min in front of everyone like a desperate fool. Her heart pounded. What if Jae-min was still angry? Would he ever trust her again? Just then, the door opened and Jae-min walked in. Panic gripped her and she ducked under the quilt, covering even her face in embarrassment. He knocked softly on her bedroom door. When there was no answer, he let himself in and found her completely covered, even her head. He chuckled to himself and said, "Wake up, Vera. I know you're pretending." She peeked her face out from under the quilt, voice trembling. "Good morning, sir. I'm really sorry about yesterday." "It's okay," he said. He sat on the bed and showed her the printed photo of the fake waiter. "Is this the guy who served you?" Vera took one look and nodded. "Yes, he's the one. I was sitting on my own when he came to me. I told him I don't take alcohol, and he told me it was just juice. He even said you'd be angry if I didn't accept it. It tasted so sweet. There was no alcohol smell or anything. That's why I took another glass. I didn't think it could be something else." Jae-min studied her face and nodded. "I believe you. How are you feeling now? Any dizziness, pain?" "I'm okay, sir," she said. "Still, I've arranged some medicine for you, just in case whatever was in the drink had something harmful. Because that guy," he paused. "He wasn't one of the waiters. I don't know how he got in, but someone clearly sent him." Vera's eyes widened. "But why? I don't know anyone here. I told you everything about my past. The only person who might know I'm alive is that man who took me to the black market. But he got so much money from you. Why would he want to hurt me? And I don't even know anyone else." "Then it's not about you," Jae-min said coldly. It's probably someone trying to get at me. My enemies know you're my wife, so they used you to embarrass me. I wouldn't be surprised if they sent that fake waiter just to humiliate me publicly. Vera's heart sank. I'm so sorry I let them use me. I promise, I won't let anything like that happen again. I'll be more careful. And I'll look out for you too, sir. No one will ever hurt you if I can stop it. Jae-min smiled faintly. Just focus on resting, alright? I'll be really busy today. I've already ordered breakfast. It'll arrive in about an hour. If you're hungry later, just use the phone next to your bed to call for lunch. I will, Vera said. Thank you again, and I'm so sorry for what happened. I'll do better. He patted her gently on the head. Okay then. I'll see you later. As he left the room, Vera felt her heart flutter. No matter what happened next, she knew one thing for sure. Jae-min was someone she'd cherish forever. After Jae-min left, Vera locked the door behind him and went back to bed, curling beneath the blanket. Her thoughts drifted back to the night before. How Jae-min had held her in his arms, stroking her hair until she fell asleep. She wished that moment had been captured on camera. Still craving memories, she picked up her phone and went online to search for their photos and videos. Her favorite was from their wedding. Even though it was all an act, the way Jae-min stared at her, kissed her, it all looked so real, so tender. If she weren't the one involved, she might have truly believed it was love. Vera smiled as she told herself, even if none of this lasts, I will always have these memories to hold on to. These videos were her treasures, snapshots of the most beautiful moments of her life. She spent the day freshening up, eating, watching videos, and napping, but after a while, boredom crept in. The silence made her restless. She turned on the TV and noticed a weather report warning of dangerous conditions. A heavy storm had hit the city, and citizens were advised to stay indoors. Worried, she looked out the window. Rain fell in thick sheets. Her thoughts instantly went to Jae-min. He had said he would be back late due to meetings. But what if those meetings were outside the hotel? She picked up her phone and tried calling him. His line was unavailable. It must be the network, she thought nervously. Still, unease filled her chest. What if something happened to him? Suddenly, her phone rang. Vera's heart leapt. She rushed to pick it up, expecting to see Jae-min's name, but it was an unsaved number. Confused, she answered. A male voice spoke. Am I speaking with Mrs. Vera Kim? Yes, she replied, her voice cautious. I'm very sorry to inform you, madam, the man said, but your husband has been in a terrible accident. He's alive but badly injured. We found your number in his phone. He needs you now. Vera gasped, her entire body going cold. Where is he? I don't know the city. Please tell me what to do. It's not far from your hotel, the man said. Just exit the hotel, take the street to your left and go all the way down. You'll see him there. Hurry. The call ended before she could ask anything else. Her hands trembled as she stared at her screen. Tears filled her eyes. She dialed Jae-min again. Still unavailable. Not wasting another second, she threw on a white dress and ran toward the door. Her only thought, Jae-min needs me. At the reception, the two hotel clerks looked up in alarm as she rushed toward the exit without an umbrella. Madam, please wait, the female clerk called out. You can't go out in this weather. It's dangerous. Vera turned to them, soaked already by the rain that sprayed in from the open door. My husband's had an accident. He needs me now. Without another word, she ran into the storm. She stopped outside the gate, panting, eyes darting. Had the man said to go left or right? She had been in such a hurry she left her phone behind, not wanting it ruined by the downpour. She tried to remember, certain he said left. No, maybe it was right? There's no time. Jae-min needs me. She picked a direction and sprinted down the street to her right, praying she had made the correct choice. Nana stood at her balcony, sipping champagne as she watched Vera flee into the storm. She smirked. Too easy. Everything had gone exactly as she planned. After hearing the storm forecast the night before, she saw the perfect opportunity. She made sure Jae-min couldn't be reached and ensured Vera would believe he was in danger. She raised her glass and dialed a number. "She's on her way," Nana said. "No mistakes. I want her gone. Make it look like an accident." "Understood," the voice on the other end replied. She ended the call, satisfied. "Enjoy your little rescue mission, Vera. It's the last thing you'll ever do." Jae-min stirred from his nap and rubbed his eyes. He glanced at the time, past 6 p.m. He had canceled his last meeting due to the weather and intended to check on Vera, but decided to let her rest. Now guilt prickled at him. He got up, looking for his phone. It was nowhere in sight. He searched his pockets, his bag nothing. He frowned, recalling his last meeting. Did I forget it there? He hurried to the meeting room in the hotel, but didn't find it there. On his way back, something caught his eye, a phone lying on the floor right in front of his door. He picked it up and sighed. How the hell did this fall here without me noticing? The screen was dark. His phone had been in flight mode. He turned it off, and as it reconnected, several notifications buzzed in. He opened Vera's room, planning to say goodnight, but froze when he found it empty. Her phone was still on the bed, her apple half-eaten. She had left in a hurry. Panic hit. He searched the hotel and found no trace of her. At the reception, he showed them her picture. The man pointed. Yes, she ran out into the rain earlier. We warned her, but she said her husband had an accident and she had to go. Jae-min's heart dropped. What? Back in her room, he checked her call history. A number, unsaved, had contacted her right before she left. He redialed it. No response. A wave of dread washed over him. This couldn't be random. Someone got her drunk the night before, and now lured her out into a storm with a lie? He clenched his fists. Someone is trying to hurt her. Or use her to hurt me. He bolted for the exit. Vera, please be okay. Vera kept running until she reached the end of the street. Her soaked clothes clung to her skin, and her feet splashed through puddles as she frantically called out. Sir? Jae-min? Where are you? Not a single soul was in sight. The streets were empty, swallowed by the storm. Wind howled and rain poured relentlessly. If not for the streetlights, she wouldn't have seen a thing. Shivering violently, she stood at the corner, heart sinking. Jae-min was nowhere to be found. She suddenly realized she had gone the wrong way. The call had said left, not right. It had taken her nearly an hour to reach the end of the street, and now she had to walk all the way back and try the opposite side. Her legs were heavy, her breath shallow, and the cold gnawed at her bones. Still, Vera turned around, determined to get to the other street. Jae-min needs me, she told herself. Meanwhile, Jae-min drove out of the hotel, starting his search from the street on the left, assuming that Vera would have gone that way. He slowly drove, scanning the sidewalks and road edges. Halfway down the street, he spotted a car by the side of the road with a tree slammed over its windscreen. He paused, studying the wreckage. The car was empty. Not far from it, under a small shelter, stood a man. The man looked suspicious. Rough-looking. Out of place. Jae-min's instincts flared. Something wasn't right. He quickly rolled up his window and drove past. What he didn't know was that the man had instantly recognized him. The man dialed Nana. She didn't come this way, he said. I've been here an hour. Not even a shadow. But her husband just drove past. He's looking for her. Nana hissed in frustration. That foolish girl. She must have gone the wrong way. She gritted her teeth, then snapped. Abort the mission. It's not safe anymore. Jae-min's seen you. I'll think of another plan. Understood, the man said before ending the call. Jae-min drove to the end of the street and searched nearby alleys and sheds. No sign of Vera. His worry deepened. The storm was dangerous, falling trees, debris flying across the road. If Vera had truly gone out in this, she could be seriously hurt. Or worse. He turned the car around and drove toward the other street, the one to the right. If she had misunderstood the directions from the call, that's likely where she would be. Vera continued walking through the torrent of rain. Her body shook violently. Her feet dragged against the pavement. Every part of her ached. Her teeth chattered uncontrollably, and her breath came in short gasps. She tried to wipe the rain off her face, but her arms felt like dead weight. She paused in the middle of the road, dizzy and weak. Her vision blurred, and tears streamed down her face, mixing with the rain. I'm going to die, and I couldn't even help him. Then headlights. A car pulled into the street. The bright beams landed on Vera's soaked figure. The vehicle stopped. Jae-min stared from behind the wheel, his heart racing when he saw her standing motionless in the middle of the street. What the hell? He muttered. He jumped out of the car and ran toward her. Vera, what are you doing? Her eyes widened when she heard his voice. She turned, startled, and for a second didn't believe her eyes. Sir, she breathed. Vera, he called again, reaching her. Without hesitation, she flung herself into his arms and sobbed uncontrollably. Sir, you're alive. You're okay, thank God. Jae-min held her, gently stroking her wet hair. Her entire body trembled in his arms. Her dress was soaked through, and she looked like she could collapse any second. Suddenly, a loud crack. A massive tree toppled and crashed directly onto Jae-min's car behind them. Jae-min flinched and instinctively pushed Vera across the road with him. They barely escaped the falling trunk and landed safely on the opposite side. They turned and stared at the wreckage. The windshield was smashed, the roof caved in, just like the car he'd passed earlier. Jae-min reached into his pocket and sighed in relief when he felt his key card and documents still intact. But he barely registered that. His mind was spinning. Someone had tried to lure Vera into a trap, and if he hadn't found her in time. He turned to her, wrapping his arm around her trembling body, and whispered, You're safe now, Vera. I've got you. With the tree still lying across his wrecked car, Jae-min knew there was no way to drive it back to the hotel. Both he and Vera were soaked to the bone, and it wasn't safe to remain under the relentless rain. He scanned the area, spotted a nearby shed, and turned to her. Come with me, he said firmly. Since they had no other option but to walk back to the hotel, a 30-minute journey at least, Jae-min figured they could wait under the shed until the weather cleared. He reached for her hand and began leading her toward it, but just as they got close, Vera suddenly let go and collapsed to the ground. Vera, he called, kneeling beside her. When he tried to lift her, he was alarmed to find she had lost consciousness. His heart thudded wildly. There was no time to wait under any shed. No time to think. Her health came first. He scooped her up into his arms, bridal style, and began walking briskly through the rain, holding her tight against his chest. By the time Jae-min arrived at the hotel more than 30 minutes later, he was drenched, cold, and shaking from head to toe. Vera was still unconscious in his arms. The receptionists and guests who had seen them both leave earlier now stared in disbelief as he walked in, water dripping from their clothes. Ignoring everyone, Jae-min marched straight to the elevator, holding her tightly, and headed up to his suite. Inside, he wasted no time. He turned on the heater in the bedroom and started the hot water in the bathroom. Then he filled the bathtub and gently placed Vera inside it, leaving her head above water while the rest of her body soaked in warmth. Leaving her in the tub for a few minutes, he peeled off his own wet clothes and wrapped a thick robe around himself. When he returned, he watched her quietly, his heart heavy with concern. Finally, her eyelids fluttered open. She looked at him weakly but said nothing. Jae-min quickly took her out of the tub and laid her on the bed. Turning his face away from her exposed body, He began to dry her gently with a towel, careful not to linger. He then covered her completely with a thick blanket and moved her to the dry side of the bed before returning to the bathroom to warm up himself. He filled the tub again, soaked briefly, then stepped out and dried off. He had barely tied a towel around his waist when he heard soft cries coming from the bedroom. He rushed out. Vera was tossing in bed, murmuring between sobs, "Sir, please don't die. I'm coming." Jae-min knelt by the bed and reached for her, brushing the hair off her face. "Vera, wake up," he whispered, gently shaking her shoulder. Her eyes snapped open, and she sat upright, gasping for air. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Sir? Is it really you?" she cried, throwing her arms around him. "They said you were in an accident. I thought I lost you. I was so scared." "I'm okay," he said, voice low and calming. "I'm here now." He wiped her tears as their eyes met. Her chest was rising and falling quickly, and the warmth of her body against him made his skin tingle. But as he looked at her, he suddenly realized that the blanket had slipped off her shoulders. Her chest was bare. Her skin, still dewy from the bath, glistened softly under the bedroom light. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so as to get notified when we drop new stories. Like and share to family and friends, and finally tell us where you're watching from in the comment section, and we will see you in our next video.